Tonight, more areas entering a lockdown.
It's disappointing is what it is, because we've been through so much this year.
Despite pleas from businesses and mayors, York Region is heading into a lockdown with just weeks to go before Christmas. Plus,
there is light at the end of the tunnel. All that remains is for shipments to arrive.
only 3 days to go until the first shipments of the COVID-19 vaccine land in Ontario, and just 4 days until the doses are administered. How the province is getting ready. And
she's spending the last years of her life being ignored.
the situation inside a Whitby nursing home nearly a week after the Canadian Red Cross stepped in to provide support during a major COVID-19 outbreak. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. York Region is moving into a lockdown. It will join Toronto and Peel in the gray zone come Monday. This despite weeks of pleas from the region's mayors to stay in the less restricted red zone. But as Lorenda Redicott reports, some say even stricter restrictions are needed.
These York Region businesses across the street from Toronto will have to close on Monday, moving into lockdown.
I think it's needed. I'm sad that it's going to this, but what's happening is people from Toronto are coming here anyways and shopping, and they got to get the numbers down, so they got to do what they got to do.
It will end the controversy along the dividing line, Steeles Avenue, with only shops in York Region allowed to open. Still a hit for small businesses there.
It's disappointing is what it is, because we've been through so much this year that you were hoping that this time of the year you'd be able to make back those sales that you kind of lost out at the beginning of the springtime.
Local politicians are speaking out about these restrictions. The mayor of Markham and one of Ford's own MPPs want more restrictions for big box stores, fewer for small businesses. York's medical officer says cases have climbed in people between 20 and 60 years old, and hospitals are stretched. The region has advocated to remain open and toughened enforcement against businesses caught breaking COVID-19 laws. The head of the University Health Network is calling for a lockdown beyond what the province has announced, to include a much wider area.
We really are feeling a great deal of stress and strain on the front line, and we also now know that with the excitement of vaccination coming on, there'll be even more demands. 45 deaths in the last 24 hours. Remember, these are people who came in contact with this disease, principally through community spread.
The health minister says the province is aware of the issues for hospitals, and apart from the lockdowns, also moved other regions to higher restrictions.
We've taken steps with 7 public health units this week, and if we have to do more, we will, but we're following the data very, very closely.
But under lockdown, cases in Peel and Toronto so far haven't dipped.
The goal of any lockdown shouldn't be to stop growth, it should be to stunt growth. It should be to bring the cases down, not to just keep the cases where they are.
His suggestion? Close schools. Windsor, the other area headed into lockdown, is doing that as of Monday.
At least following Christmas break, schools should be moved to online for the 2 weeks following Christmas break, ideally for all grades.
He suggests at a minimum going online for high schools. The new lockdowns are set to take effect on Monday. Lorenda Redicott, CBC News, Toronto.
Along with York and Windsor moving into the gray lockdown zone on Monday, moving into the red control zone are Middlesex, London, Simcoe, Muskoka District, and Wellington, Dufferin, Guelph. Eastern Ontario is moving into the orange restrict zone, and Leeds, Grenville, and Lanark are moving into the yellow protect zone. Well, the province is just days away from receiving its first shipments of the COVID-19 vaccine. 6,000 doses are headed here over the weekend, traveling from Europe to Kentucky and then to Pearson Airport. 2 hospitals, one in Toronto and one in Ottawa, are getting ready to start vaccinating people on Tuesday. Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley has the latest.
Ontario is just days away from scenes like this, the first doses of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine given to seniors in England.
There is light at the end of the tunnel. All that remains is for shipments to arrive.
The first shipments are due to arrive in the province on Monday. One comes here to Toronto's University Health Network, the other to the Ottawa Hospital. Both sites performed dry runs today.
Including how long it'll take us to take the vaccines out of the ultra-low temperature freezers, thaw them, dilute them with the mixture that we have, prepare them in the syringes, and then be prepared to go to vaccinate the first people that come in.
Those first people will be staff of long-term care homes. Starting Tuesday, 3,000 of them will get their first shot of the 2-dose vaccine. The workers have been chosen from homes at the greatest risk from the virus.
As one of the doctors said to me, by doing that alone, we'll improve the protection of the residents in that long-term care home by 90+% because the COVID-19 enters the home through those people.
The province expects to receive 90,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine in December.
The truth is that this vaccine is liquid gold at this point. We are getting a very limited supply.
Ontario is also on track to receive up to 85,000 doses of another vaccine this month from pharmaceutical company Moderna. Since it doesn't require ultra-low temperature storage, the province wants to take it directly to long-term care homes to vaccinate residents, once approved for use.
Hopefully it will come forward very soon, but we don't have any definite timelines because Health Canada has to do their due diligence and make sure that it's a safe product.
The vaccines can't come soon enough for the hospital system. There are more than 800 people with COVID-19 hospitalized around Ontario, more than 200 of those in intensive care. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Tomorrow marks 1 week since the Canadian Red Cross entered Sunnycrest nursing home in Whitby, providing support in the midst of a major COVID-19 outbreak. The home didn't see a single case during the first wave, but now it's one of the hardest hit homes. Sunnycrest has reported more than 160 infections. 22 residents have died. Angelina King spoke to a woman worried about her mom and an advocate who says this shouldn't be happening again.
She's spending the last years of her life being ignored.
Wendy Stevens' mom, Phyllis, is 96 years old. For the last 4.5 years, she's been living at Sunnycrest Nursing Home. 1 week ago, she tested positive for COVID-19.
My concern ever since I heard about the outbreak was that nobody was going to notice that she hadn't eaten or she needed to go to the bathroom. Most of the staff are kind and caring, and they really, really want to make life better for these people, but they just don't have time.
She says there's never been enough staff, a problem made even worse when an outbreak was declared 3 weeks ago. 6 days later, an inspection was done, revealing several issues, including workers not following PPE protocol and staffing levels at 50%. Since then, Lakeridge Health has temporarily taken over management, its doctors, nurses, and other staff helping. The Canadian Red Cross is also there, assisting with meals and cleaning. Sunnycrest isn't the only home the Red Cross is helping during this second wave. Right now, it's at 4 other homes across the province and just wrapped up at 2. Currently, 131 homes are dealing with an outbreak, 13 more than yesterday.
This is a clear indication of failure, both at the provincial level and at the home level.
This long-term care advocate says this shouldn't be happening again.
We were warning this government for months that they had to safeguard these homes over the summer months, particularly and most importantly by increasing staffing.
Sunnycrest didn't respond to requests for comment, but the long-term care ministry says it's committed to stabilizing the home with all those helping, saying in part, "Together we continue to take action to support the home, to have infection prevention and control measures in place, staffing, and a good supply of PPE." Meanwhile, Stevenson is grateful her mom remains asymptomatic.
She's like the little Energizer bunny. I'm not worried about her succumbing to COVID, really. I think hers will, when her end comes, it'll be something else.
She hopes the home situation improves before then. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
And two people have died and 4 others are in hospital after a building under construction partially collapsed in London, Ontario today. It happened just before noon. Officials say the wall of the 4-story structure suddenly collapsed, trapping numerous people. 1 person was pulled from the scene without vital signs and pronounced dead hours later. Another person trapped in the debris has also died. Efforts to recover the body have been delayed because the structure is unstable. 2 residents of a Toronto community housing building are recovering in hospital after a fire ripped through a North York high-rise last night. Meanwhile, other residents are now wondering if they'll be able to get back into their units before the holidays. Greg Ross reports.
I opened the door. All my room was in the clouds.
Clouds of thick smoke, and it was coming from the apartment directly across the hall from where this woman lives on the 5th floor. She says firefighters brought her neighbor from that apartment onto her balcony to administer CPR.
This is an awful experience.
2 residents had to be taken to hospital, one with serious injuries. Dozens more were evacuated last night from this building that is operated by Toronto Community Housing. In all, 29 units were affected. Today, residents from 16 of those units were allowed to return home.
It's one of the largest TCH buildings in the city. It is primarily seniors, probably about 80%. The entire 5th floor has been evacuated where the fire was.
With just 2 weeks to go before Christmas, it's still too soon to say how long it's going to take to get people from the remaining 13 units back into their homes.
We hope to get everyone back in their units soon. Obviously, the severely damaged one, it'll be some time, but we're going to work with TCHC to get the repairs done and get everyone safely in.
The Ontario Fire Marshal's office is still trying to determine how this fire started.
Realistically, this will go well into tomorrow, possibly into Sunday, depending on how long it takes us to get the debris out.
Jeff Tebby with the Fire Marshal's office says there was an unusually high amount of debris inside the apartment, which may have made things worse.
There was a significant fuel load in the unit, and as you can see, it's vented out the window and gone up, involving units above. And there's also heavy soot contamination in the 5th floor hallway.
2 firefighters actually had to be taken to the hospital last night to be treated for heat exhaustion, and their platoon chief tells us that this fire was burning so hot that one of their helmets actually melted. As for the remaining 13 units that are still displaced by this fire, Toronto Community Housing tells us that they are providing residents with accommodations until they are able to return here to their homes. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
As we first told you last night, the family of Regis Korchinsky Paquette has filed a complaint with Ontario's Independent Police Oversight Agency. This comes just months after the province's Special Investigations Unit cleared 5 Toronto police officers in the 29-year-old woman's death. The family says they found discrepancies in the evidence, and they're hoping the complaint will be reviewed. Nazima Walji spoke with them.
We don't even sleep at night.
The Korchinsky family says the last few months have been hard.
We don't really understand what happened that day in the apartment, and we were told to stand outside, and that's what we did. And all we know was our daughter went in one door and didn't come out the same door.
The family's now filed a complaint with the Office of the Independent Police Review Director after a Special Investigations Unit report cleared the 5 officers in the death of their daughter, Regis Korchinsky Paquette. It concluded she was trying to get to a neighbor's balcony when she fell 24 stories. The family still has concerns with the SIU report.
So there's no way she could have been on that balcony by herself, and it's like, oh, I'm looking the other way. Oh, I don't know what happened to her. She was scaling balconies. 24 stories, scaling balconies? That's insane.
Part of the complaint says no one in the family saw police follow de-escalation tactics.
They pushed her in the hallway in their chest. That's assault right there. And you're telling me that when she got into the apartment and you kicked everyone out of the apartment, you didn't have hands on her?
And alleges officers failed to know the history and context of previous calls to the address.
I called the police for help, and I didn't get any help. The only thing I got was the results that came out of that was my daughter lost her life.
And they say Korchinsky Paquette's character was misrepresented by police when they initially told the public her death was a suicide.
She's such a beautiful person, and I wish that people could have known her for who she was rather than, her from the police being involved. It's just kind of crazy. If you guys really knew her, she was nothing of what the news makes her seem like. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't
suicidal. The family is hoping the Independent Civilian Oversight Agency will recommend an investigation.
It's never, ever going to be all right, because this nightmare will never go away from us. That's part of the reason why we're doing this, because we don't want this to happen to another family.
You know, if they weren't called that day, Regis would still be here. We wouldn't be missing a sibling for Christmas this year.
Nazima Walji, CBC News, Toronto.
Today, the City of Toronto announced a step towards the development of a Black cultural community space at Bathurst and Bloor.
We were very happy as part of the redevelopment process here for Mirvish Village. The city was able to secure space on the site that the city will own and lease to a community cultural center.
We are in collaboration with the city, and that we will negotiate with them this long-term lease so that the roots of our people will grow even deeper in the soil of Canada.
A different Booklist Cultural Center will operate out of a building at the former site of Honest Ed's and will include community space for drumming, dance classes, poetry, and music. Councillor Layton will be bringing a motion to City Council next week to initiate long-term lease negotiations with the centre to operate in the new space. Still ahead tonight, it's time to build a rink. We tag along with a company that's been fielding call after call to help make backyard rinks. How they do it, coming up. Plus,
a messy system on its way to Ontario, mostly a rain event for the city. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. Lots of warnings, though, to fill you in on. That's coming up after the break.
76 years ago today, Toronto saw one of its worst ever snowstorms. These are photos from the Toronto Archives showing the wallop of snow on the city on this day in 1944. Nearly 60 centimeters fell in just over a day. Well, we saw none of that today. Let's go to our meteorologist, Colette Kennedy. Now, Colette, it was gorgeous outside for much of the day. Clouds, I know, have since moved in, though.
Thanks, Kelda. Oh, just such a beautiful day. I mean, what a Friday, right? And it's sort of that calm before the storm because there's so much activity coming our way with this system this weekend. I want to kind of walk you through what's going to be happening, already beginning to see this as it's starting to approach and moving through southwestern Ontario. So we'll see fog in some areas again tonight, perhaps not as dense as it was last night. And I put precip as in precipitation because it's going to be in various forms, primarily a rain event still for the north shore of Lake Ontario and north of Lake Erie as well. Freezing rain areas though, and I'll show you where. And then we're looking at a steadier rain for Saturday afternoon. So for Toronto, it kind of comes in light and then it intensifies midday tomorrow and then it'll improve Saturday night. So lots going on. Snowfall warning towards the Bruce Peninsula, 10 to 20 centimeters, that potential there. Where we have the rainfall warning, the areas you see here in green, that's where we're looking at 20 to 35 millimeters of rain, and especially into some of the higher terrain here into the Dundalk Highlands, but elsewhere as well, that real risk of seeing some freezing rain and maybe it even starting to build up over time. So that's something tonight into tomorrow morning, watching very carefully. And there are areas outside of there where we'll be seeing some freezing rain as well, thus a special weather statement extending all the way across towards the nation's capital as this works its way in. I just have to reflect for a moment, can we, on some of the daytime highs? 9 for Windsor, but double digits. Hamilton 10, St. Catharines at 11 and 9 for the city. Here it is as it's working its way in. So I know it's fairly light precipitation, a bit of a mix too, up towards the Bruce Peninsula as it begins. Then as it comes in, it intensifies. So we'll find that towards the morning hours for southwestern Ontario and the afternoon over towards the Golden Horseshoe. But this is that line. You see this pink area here where we get into freezing rain and ice pellets. Power outages certainly possible because it kind of hangs in that same spot for several hours as the system tracks through. That's why it'll really be something, an area to watch. We are still looking at quite a bit of cloud cover into Sunday, but certainly some drier conditions then too. Here are your temperatures overnight tonight. Doesn't seem like lows. I know it's also why it's rain for this area and not snow. So good to see. Probably see the temperatures kind of spike before they're falling on Saturday. And that's what we'll be seeing as well. So these are your lows again above freezing. But, you know, even towards Orangeville or Newmarket, you could get into some of this freezing rain through there. But tomorrow, these are the afternoon temperatures. They'll likely rise further into the evening before they start to come down. And once they do, it's really the coldest air that we're going to be seeing is coming Monday night and then towards the rest of the week, Elda.
All right, note to self to bundle up on Monday. Thanks so much, Colette.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Just a reminder, our annual Sounds of the Season fundraiser continues for 3 more weeks. So far, you've helped raise more than $780,000 for GTA food banks. That includes a $100,000 donation by Open Text today. And that's wonderful news because with the pandemic, the need is even greater this year. You can find out how to donate at cbc.ca/SOTS. As COVID-19 puts the freeze on hockey and skating season, for some, backyard ice rinks are coming into play, with some families taking it upon themselves to build their own rinks with a little help.
The way it all started was back when I was 12 years old. I asked his father for his skating rink birthday party. We actually decided to build one in my backyard. So my dad and I, we spent a lot of time trying to figure it out and put it together, and I was able to have this backyard skating party. People caught notice, then we started building rinks for people all over the GTA. Yeah, I was turning 12, so I'm 22 at the moment.
How many rinks are you building this year compared to last year?
Last year we only did about 30 to 40 rinks. This year we're looking in the higher hundreds. So we're really kind of steamrolling through.
I can see that wood. I might give it a try myself.
Totally. The first thing is you have to laser level. If you don't have a laser level, you can go on YouTube and find different DIY ways to level. So on our higher side, which is just over here, that's the higher part of the slope, we want to have at least 4 inches of ice. And that means since we're sloping downwards, we need to accommodate for the rise of ice through our measurement. So that means that the water will probably be up to about here. And then I guess the last one would be to triple enforce. Simply screwing the boards together will not cut it. And then we're also going to cure this, and then this is going to go into the corner. And then they're also going to be staked down. And that's just the frame for right now. And then we come back once -5 days for more than a week straight. And we'll come and we tarp it, and then we'll direct you on how to fill it up with your garden hose. If you're pulling your hair out and it's turning into a negative experience, that is not what the outdoor rink is all about. It's all about family fun, family experiences, and really just enjoying the sports of hockey, figure skating, and normal ice skating.
Right. You may not know that you're going to pull your hair out until you go to fill it, though.
Until you try it.
And that is our show for you tonight and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. Maribel Tarouk has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Have a great weekend, everyone.